Malcolm Gladwell, The Bomber Mafia, A Dream, A Temptation, and the Longest Night of the Second World War. Dive into an engaging tale of determination and tactics that shaped the course of World War II with Malcolm Gladwell's captivating book, The Bomber Mafia, A Dream, A Temptation, and the Longest Night of the Second World War. This is no typical Gladwell book. Get ready to explore the riveting world of the Bomber Mafia, a group of Army Air Corps visionaries who believed precision bombing could bring the war to a swift and bloodless end. As their faith in meticulous destruction is put to the test, unravel the conflicts and challenges that arise. This New York Times Book Review Editor's Choice promises to provide a fresh perspective on the remarkable men behind the scenes of this devastating era.
Gladwell's Bomber Mafia. Author Malcolm Gladwell delves into the history of the Bomber Mafia, a group of visionaries in the Army Air Corps who believed precision bombing would spare lives during wartime. Gladwell highlights how different military cultures influence decision-making and technology use. Despite brutal tactics prevailing during World War II, the Bomber Mafia spirit lives on in Gladwell's compelling prose. The New York Times Book Review Editor's Choice received praise as a revisionist history page-turner. Kirkus Reviews called it excellent, the Sunday Times, UK, found it brilliantly told, and Publishers Weekly says fans will savor the insights. The emergence of precision bombing. Gladwell recounts how the U.S. Air Forces, then Army Air Corps, strategy emerged through the Bomber Mafia's belief in precision destruction will cripple the enemy, as opposed to mass, indiscriminate night bombing. Air warfare tactics, values, and strategy mostly resulted from late-night talk sessions at the Academy's Maxwell Field faculty. In The Bomber Mafia, Gladwell provides an account of how the U.S. Air Force's strategy transitioned from mass, indiscriminate night bombing to precision bombing. The book highlights the emergence of air warfare tactics, values, and strategy that resulted from late-night talk sessions. Gladwell points out that the faculty at the Academy's Maxwell Field mostly made things up, on the fly. They changed their air combat approach because the Army suffered more casualties from accidents than from bullets. Gladwell explains that the flyers at the Maxwell Field faculty, the Bomber Mafia, believed that precision destruction would cripple the enemy and make it give up, sparing millions of soldiers and civilians. They hoped that by knocking out essential enemy manufacturing facilities, they could bring the war to a halt. This view contrasted with Prime Minister Winston Churchill's advisors, who believed that mass, indiscriminate night bombing would bring about quick surrender. The book explains that the vision of hundreds of Mark XVs, computerized bomb sites developed by Carl Norden, was a military dream. If bombers could achieve such precision, the need for armies would disappear. The fatal failure of precision bombing. In Bomber Mafia, Gladwell depicts Haywood Hansel as a precision bombing fanatic who aimed to bomb factories with ball bearings. Colonel Curtis LeMay led the bomber pilots attacking from England, but their strikes were poorly coordinated, leading to disastrous outcomes. The Air Corps learned that the Norden bomb sites were unreliable and 80 out of 2,000 bombs hit the factories. The year 1943 became the darkest time for the Bomber Mafia, as their ideas failed in the face of reality. The indiscriminate night bombing became the norm, and more than 25,000 civilians died in 3 nights of bombing in Dresden. The cost of conviction. In his book, Gladwell shares a story of 2 U.S. Air Force officers during World War II, Hansel and LeMay. Although both officers led the same unit, their differing ideologies led to vastly different outcomes. Hansel refused to firebomb civilians, even though it would have led to a quicker end to the war. LeMay, on the other hand, had no qualms with using any means necessary to end the war quickly. Eventually, LeMay replaced Hansel as the leader of the unit and ordered the bombing of Tokyo, which resulted in over 100,000 civilian deaths. Gladwell argues that the level of conviction one has in their beliefs can be a double-edged sword. While it can provide great determination and drive, it can also lead to inflexibility and blindness to evidence that suggests otherwise. While LeMay and Truman may be celebrated for their role in ending the war, Hansel and the Bomber Mafia, who refuse to engage in callous tactics, should also be remembered for their courage, integrity, and commitment to humaneness. Gladwell's Gee-Whiz approach to war. Malcolm Gladwell explores the moralities behind the concept of strategic bombing in his book. Although his approach may seem less insightful and a shade hurried than his previous works, his fans will appreciate it as a narrative treat. In the book, Gladwell supports the idea that brutal and ferocious war wage leads to a shorter war. While not delving deeply into the ethical implications of such a concept, this book serves as an enjoyable read for war aficionados and Gladwell's revisionist history podcast listeners alike.
Malcolm Gladwell's The Bomber Mafia delves into the relentless efforts of Army Air Corps visionaries as they strive to create a different approach to wartime strategy. Despite the grim reality of their failed dreams, Gladwell shines a light on their remarkable commitment and courage to explore a more humane path to victory during the Second World War. This captivating narrative is an homage to their unwavering spirit, reminding readers of the daring pioneers who challenged the norms amidst the chaos of battle. A fascinating read not only for war history enthusiasts but also for those seeking perspective on determination and innovation during turbulent times.